Maurice Ravel was a famous French composer who lived during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He was born on March 7, 1875, in the city of Ciboure, in southwestern France, close to the Spanish border. Ravel is considered one of the most important composers of the 20th century, known for his beautiful music that blends traditional classical styles with modern ideas. From a young age, Ravel showed a great interest in music. His parents recognized his talent and supported his musical education. He began studying piano and composition at the Paris Conservatory when he was a young teenager. At the conservatory, he learned many aspects of classical music and worked hard to improve his skills. Though Ravel was a brilliant student, he faced some challenges. He had to try several times before he was accepted into the conservatory. Later, when he graduated, he was still not always seen as a traditional composer, which meant he sometimes faced criticism. One of the key moments in Ravel's life was his time at the Paris Conservatory. He studied under several important teachers, including the famous composer and teacher, Gabriel Fauré. Fauré helped Ravel develop his unique style, combining his love for harmony, rhythm, and orchestration. Ravel had a special talent for creating beautiful, colorful sounds in his music, which made him stand out among other composers. His ability to blend different textures and create vivid musical images became one of his trademarks. In the early years of his career, Ravel composed many pieces for piano and orchestra. His music often featured a rich, delicate sound that was both modern and deeply rooted in classical traditions. One of his first well-known works was Pavane for a Dead Princess, composed in 1899. The piece is slow and elegant, capturing a sense of nostalgia and beauty. It was a sign of the refined, atmospheric style Ravel would continue to develop throughout his life. Ravel's works often showed a love for the sounds of different countries and cultures. He was influenced by many things, such as the music of Spain, which he heard growing up near the Spanish border, and the rhythms of jazz, which he discovered later in life. One of his most famous works, Rhapsodie Espagnole, reflects his love for Spanish music. This piece is full of lively rhythms and vibrant melodies that evoke the feeling of Spain, with its dances and folk traditions. Another important work in Ravel's career is Bolero. Composed in 1928, this piece is one of Ravel's most famous compositions. It starts with a simple melody played by a solo instrument, and as the music progresses, more instruments join in, creating a repetitive, hypnotic effect. Bolero is known for its gradual buildup of intensity and its use of rhythm and orchestration. The piece has become one of the most recognized and performed works in classical music, though it was not always well received when it was first performed. Some critics initially thought it was too simple or repetitive, but over time it became clear that Bolero was a masterpiece of orchestration and rhythm. Ravel was also known for his works for solo piano. One of his most famous piano pieces is Gaspard de la Nuit, composed in 1908. This piece is a set of 3 movements, each depicting a different scene or story. The music is very challenging to play, requiring great skill and technical ability from the performer. Gaspard de la Nuit is full of complex harmonies and vivid musical pictures. The first movement, Ondine, paints the picture of a water spirit, while the second, Le Gibet, describes the haunting image of a hanging body. The third movement, Scarbo, portrays a terrifying impish creature. These 3 pieces together are considered some of the most difficult works in the piano repertoire, showing Ravel's ability to create intense emotions through music. Throughout his life, Ravel experimented with different styles of music. While he was deeply connected to classical traditions, he was also open to exploring new ideas. He was influenced by the music of the French Impressionist composers like Claude Debussy, though Ravel's music is often considered more structured and precise than that of Debussy. Ravel's music is known for its clarity and elegance, as well as its ability to evoke strong emotions. Ravel was not just a composer. He was also an expert in orchestration. He had an extraordinary understanding of how instruments could work together to create different colors and textures. This is why many of his compositions for orchestra are famous for their richness and complexity. He was able to use orchestration in a way that made even the simplest melody sound magical. His music often features delicate changes in harmony, shifts in rhythm, and a careful balance of sound that creates a feeling of dreamlike beauty. Ravel's style was also influenced by his time in Paris, which was a cultural center during the early 20th century. Many great artists, musicians, and writers lived and worked in Paris during this time, and Ravel was part of this vibrant artistic community. He was friends with several other famous composers, including Igor Stravinsky and Darius Milhaud, and he was a part of the group of musicians known as Les Six, who sought to break away from traditional romantic music and explore more modern approaches to composition. However, unlike some of his contemporaries, Ravel's music often stayed closer to traditional forms and structures, even while using modern harmonies and rhythms. Ravel's music continued to be performed and appreciated during his lifetime, and he gained international fame. However, in the later years of his life, Ravel's health began to decline. In the early 1930s, he began to suffer from a neurological illness that affected his ability to compose. Despite his illness, Ravel continued to work on music, and even composed some of his last works during this time. One of his final works, the Piano Concerto for Left Hand, was written for a pianist who had lost his right hand in World War I. The piece is powerful and full of emotion, and it shows Ravel's ability to adapt to difficult circumstances and create something beautiful and meaningful, even in the face of personal challenges. Maurice Ravel died on December 28, 1937, in Paris after a long struggle with illness. His legacy as one of the great composers of the 20th century lives on through his music, which continues to be loved by audiences and musicians around the world. Ravel's works are still regularly performed by orchestras and soloists, and his influence on music can be heard in the works of many composers who followed him. His ability to create music that is both beautiful and innovative, with a clear sense of structure and emotion, has made him an enduring figure in the world of classical music.